Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society bringing you our nightly update. And this is going to be our regular update. So, not only are we going to talk about the Atlantic, but we will also go out to the Eastern and Western Pacific as well. And there was an area of interest out in the Bay of Bengal, but I digress. So, we now have Tropical Depression number 9 here and a Category 5 Hurricane Humberto. So we certainly have some action going. We've got NARDA out here and in another little spot on the Eastern Pacific outlook that we'll get to much, 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 much later. So, first off, let's go ahead and dive in. First, that we're going to cover, obviously, is 9. 9 has tropical storm watches and warnings already issued. If we take a look at a zoomed in mesoscale view of this is frames over the last 90 minutes, updated 1 minute at a time. And we've got the kind of, I guess you would call the diffuse little center, whatever, is kind of in under this cloud mass. So we see some of the low level clouds kind of moving in this general direction here. We've got some low level clouds moving this way here. And so the center is going to be somewhere in this generalized region somewhere. Could even be offset just a little bit over here also. So let's dive into the particulars on this from the 5 p.m. primary advisory. Currently, we are located at 22.2 north, 76.5 west, about 200 miles northwest of the eastern tip of Cuba, and about 105 miles south-southwest of the central Bahamas. Maximum sustained winds of 35 miles an hour, currently moving northwest at 5. Minimum central pressure is 1,005 millibars. We do have tropical storm watches and warnings. The warnings are going to be for the central and northern Bahamas, and our tropical storm watches will be for portions of the east coast of Florida. Now, as we scroll down here, we are going to go to the most important part of a public advisory, and that is hazards affecting land. We do know that we have tropical storm conditions and tropical storm force winds are expected in the areas of the tropical storm warned locations, plus are possible in our tropical storm watch locations. Our rainfall, this really hasn't changed too overly much, but thankfully Cuba's has gone down a little bit. Tropical Depression 9 is expected to produce an additional rainfall of 4 to 8 inches across eastern Cuba and the Bahamas, across Hispaniola, Jamaica, and portions of central and southern Cuba. An additional 1 to 3 inches of rain is expected. This rainfall will likely produce flash and urban flooding. Mudslides are also possible in areas of higher terrain across eastern Cuba. By early next week, moisture from Tropical Depression 9 is expected to bring a threat of heavy rainfall from the east coast of Florida northward into the eastern Carolinas. Rainfall amounts of 3 to 6 inches are possible, with localized totals of 10 inches across portions of the coastal Carolinas. This rainfall could result in flash, urban, and river flooding. Changes in the forecast track could result in adjustments to these rainfall totals. Right now, all we have for storm surge is for locations here in the Bahamas. We're looking at 1 to 3 feet above ground level in the area of onshore winds in the northwestern Bahamas. I certainly will there, Henry. Yes, Heather, we are on YouTube. I definitely will, sir. I certainly will. Um, I was looking at that as a matter of fact beforehand, before I even went live here this evening. So actually, I'll go over that when we get to the ensemble. So we won't even wait till the end. That'll be a part of the Atlantic. And our surf. Okay, folks, let's be realistic here. We've got a developing tropical storm, potential hurricane. And on top of that, we've got a category 5 south of Bermuda. So let's just stay out of the water, please. Like if you're going to go to the beach, please make sure you check with your local officials. Rip currents are going to start to increase for certain. All right, now our forecast cone. I've got here, we're going to pull up the new experimental cone and show that we do not have any inland watches. This is all coastal for the east coast of Florida. Now, in all of the islands located here in our blue highlighted areas, all of those are contained with tropical storm warnings. Our area here on the east coast of Florida do have tropical storm watches, and I would not be surprised if some of these watches potentially get extended up the coast. But please keep in mind, as we could see with the forecast cone, we do not have the cone of uncertainty going anywhere near land. It is well offshore. It doesn't have to make landfall to cause significant impacts. This slow motion here is going to be enough with the way that the atmosphere is going to be set up, that there's still going to be a good amount of rain, especially for these coastal regions here along the southeastern coast. And we'll go over all of that here in a moment. Taking a look at our 18Z spaghetti plots, we do have halves A getting out here, halves B kind of lagging in behind, and the HMON. So some of our hurricane specific models still aren't necessarily completely sold on this going out. Now, the National Hurricane Center's official forecast track does have it coming up, stalling out, and turning to the right. There still remains some uncertainty with this. It is not a full lock that this is going to behave the way that we believe it's going to behave from the National Hurricane Center's forecast. It's not 100% set in stone yet. So please make sure that you continue to check back with the National Hurricane Center and your local National Weather Service office just to make sure that things hold in the current way that they are. Because if it doesn't, the rainfall threat goes way up. Our key messages for Tropical Depression number 9. Let's go ahead and we're going to go through all of these. Key message number 1. The depression is expected to strengthen and bring tropical storm conditions to portions of the central and northwestern Bahamas through Saturday night. Tropical storm conditions are also possible along portions of the east coast of central Florida beginning Monday, where a tropical storm watch is in effect. Key message number 2. Rainfall will continue to impact eastern Cuba, Hispaniola, Jamaica, and the Bahamas through the weekend, which will likely produce flash and urban flooding. Mudslides are possible in the higher terrain. Key message number 3. There is a significant threat of heavy rainfall early next week from portions of the east coast of Florida northward into the Carolinas, which could cause flash, urban, and river flooding. Key message number 4. The depression is expected to be at or near hurricane intensity when it is closest to the southeast U.S. coast early next week, where there is a risk of storm surge and wind impacts. Although it is too soon to specify the exact location and magnitude of impacts, residents should closely monitor the latest forecast updates and ensure that they have their hurricane plan in place. I do know the South Carolina Emergency Management and the governor of South Carolina did issue a disaster declaration and state of emergency here. I have heard that North Carolina has also, but I was not able to confirm that for myself. I did go look at their emergency management. I did not, their page. I did not find any kind of press release on that, though I did find it here for South Carolina. So, folks there in South Carolina, please follow any advice given to you by your local officials. Looking at our forecast discussion, we're going to go ahead, since this is the one that's got the threat and everybody's kind of attention. It is only right if we read this in its entirety for everybody. The organization of the depression has not changed much since this morning. Some deep convection has flared up this afternoon near the estimated center, which appears broad in the 850 millibar flight level wind data from the Air Force Hurricane Hunters. The earlier scatterometer winds and more recent aircraft data do not suggest the system has intensified. The initial intensity is held at 30 knots for this advisory. The center appears slightly south and west of previous estimates, with an uncertain initial motion of 315 degrees at 4 knots. Over the next couple of days, the system should turn more north-northwestward within the flow between an upper trough over the southeast U.S. and a subtropical ridge over the Atlantic. This forecast brings the depression over the central and northwestern Bahamas through early Monday, then towards the southeast U.S. coast by Tuesday. The NHC track forecast is very similar to the previous one, with only a slight nudge westward based on the initial position adjustments during the day. Warm waters and strong upper level divergence could promote or should promote strengthening during the next few days, but this could be tempered by moderate southerly shear over the system from an upper level trough. The NHC intensity forecast shows steady strengthening through early next week, with the system becoming a hurricane by 60 hours. This prediction lies close to the latest IVCN and HCC aids. We will look at both of those here in a little while. There is still above average uncertainty in the details of the long range forecast. In general, the models agree that the presence of Hurricane Humberto to the east will result in a weakening of the prevailing steering currents, causing the system to slow down and meander near the southeast U.S. coast on Tuesday. While the chances of a landfall appear lower than yesterday, there are still some hurricane regional models and ensemble solutions that show this possibility. Given the expected asymmetric storm structure, a risk of significant heavy rainfall, storm surge, and wind impacts exist for the southeast U.S. coast, even if the storm center remains offshore. The increased track spread at 96 to 120 hours is related to whether the system feels the effects of an amplifying upper level trough behind Humberto over the western Atlantic. While many global models show a sharp eastward turn and acceleration away from land, the system fails to be captured by the trough in the 12Z Euro and lingers offshore. The NHC track forecast at days 4 and 5 maintains a consensus approach and shows a slower eastward motion, but future track adjustments are likely as confidence increases. The system may be in close proximity to fronts by the end of the period, so extratropical transition could begin around or shortly after day 5. And if we scroll down here and take a look, we do have this intensifying and then becoming a hurricane here by 60 hours, maintaining hurricane intensity from 60 hours through 96 hours, and then perhaps succumbing to a little bit of frontal interaction with an approaching trough, and now it is back down to 70 miles an hour. But I'm going to be realistic. If whether it was 70 or 75, you're not really going to be able to tell much difference. It just is the classification of hurricane to tropical storm. Taking a look at our rainfall forecast. So as we can see here, we do have areas of 4 to 6 inches all along the coast, looking like from getting here around the Wilmington area, well down here towards the Charleston area, Savannah 2 to 4, getting well inland here into southern South Carolina, over towards the Charlotte region, maybe not as far as Charlotte, but right now we're looking at 2 to 4, up to Cape Hatteras. So there is expected to be quite a bit of potential here for some heavy rainfall. And it was noted upwards of 10 inches in localized spots with the current forecast. Slight changes in this could change quite a bit. If the forecast track or the storm, say, tracks maybe 20, 30 miles closer to the state of Florida and not out over the open waters that 20, 30 miles, maybe some of these totals along the coastal region would go up. It would definitely increase your wind chance, but you could also see that rainfall chance be accompanied with it as well. Here, getting in towards Grand Bahama Island, we're looking at maybe 8 to 12 inches with this orange shading here. That's no good. Nobody likes that amount of rain in a very short period of time. Dropping down to our international forecast, unfortunately, these folks here in eastern Cuba have not been able to get a break, and it is still continuing to rain. Now, what we have here, I am going to run this out 120 hours. These two graphics represent the following. On the left, we have the 18Z Weather Prediction Center rainfall total forecast out 120 hours, or the equivalent of 5 days. On the right, we have the NOAA blend of models out 120 hours or 5 days. We see a lot of similarities. Some of the rainfall totals vary a little bit here and there, like a 4.8 to a 5.0, 4.2 to a 3.9. They vary slightly. But the good news is that we don't have this extremely heavy rain over inland portions of the Carolinas. But we don't. This is not set in stone yet. So, folks, although the threat has been reducing for the significant and serious rains, localized totals are still going to be rather heavy, and we're still going to feel some impacts from this, although it doesn't look to be those eye-popping numbers of 12, 15, 16, 18 inches that we were seeing from the Euro a couple days ago. So now we're going to take a look at our tropical storm force wind speed probabilities. And I've got this here in the graphical representation. We've got Humberto out here with Bermuda. Bermuda is definitely going to get watches and warnings for at least a tropical storm. But I've got a better way to take a look at our wind speed probabilities here tonight. And what I have here is the text product issued by the National Hurricane Center regarding the wind speed probabilities. So let me come back to, as you can see, this is the main page of the National Hurricane Center. If you would ever like to read these for yourself, you will click that link right there. Those wind speed probabilities, this is the text product that we see here. This is what will populate. So how we read this, they have an explanation here at the top as to how you read these storms and or this particular text product. The parentheses is the overall added up cumulatively. So at this point, this is what gives us our, real percentages. So we're going to go through quite a few of them here tonight just so we can at least get it on record of what the percentages are. And then in subsequent primary advisories, as this particular text product is updated, we're going to go over the probabilities again and again, so we will be able to tell whether we've got the probabilities are currently rising or are the probabilities currently falling. That's going to be critical as we go forward, because that is, how you stay as prepared and aware as possible to what your true threat level is. And the National Hurricane Center provides these tremendous products of wind speeds for all over the place. So let's go ahead and get started here. So if we look, some areas have one listing, some areas have 3 listings. Cape Hatteras only has 2 listings. Okay, there's a reason why. In this column right here, all right, I'm going to stop at Morehead City. And this column right here represents the wind speed in knots. So if we see just a 34, that represents tropical storm force winds. The 50 are our 50 knot winds, or those 58 mile an hour threshold winds for severe storms from the National Weather Service office. And then if we look here, we have our 64. Now at 64, that is representative of our hurricane force winds. 64 knots represents 75 or 74 miles an hour. So what we're now, I'm going to highlight this particular thing right here. So if we look here, our forecast hour, forecast 12, 24, 36, 48, 72, 96, 120. So we go forward in time from left to right. This column is going to be the 12-hour column right here. This is 24, 36, 48, 72, 96, 120. And again, the number shown in the parentheses is the overall cumulative probability for that particular wind speed. As here for Cape Hatteras, we have a 16% chance of seeing our tropical storm force winds. That's how you read this. And then you can look, okay, we've got an 8 here and a 5 there for the 96 and 120. So we would look for, okay, the highest chance would be in the 96 column. All right, where Bald Head Island down here is a little different. We have a 36% chance of seeing our tropical storm force winds, but then we've got an 18 and a 14, which would then lead to the 72-hour mark being the higher probability, and maybe kind of bleeding in from the 72 to 96 hour area. So just to kind of give everybody a real, detailed breakdown of how you read this particular text product. Okay, now we're going to go through all of our percentages. So Morehead City, I know we've got followers there, 23%. Tropical storm force winds, your 50 knot winds are at 4%. Surf City, North Carolina, 27% tropical storm force winds, 5% 50 knot winds. Wilmington, North Carolina, right now you're only at a 12% for your tropical storm force winds. Um, let's see, Cape Hatteras again, you're at 16. New River at a 10%. And all of these are for tropical storm force. Let's see if we can find Little River here, 34%. So that's going to be a 1 in 3 chance of seeing some tropical storm force winds. Myrtle Beach, you are at a 36% chance with a 7% chance of seeing those 50-knot winds and a 2% chance of those hurricane force winds. We got a team member that is looking at going to Myrtle Beach this upcoming week. Had it planned for a while, and Mother Nature decided to throw a potential hurricane right offshore. Yeah, fun times. Charleston, South Carolina, you have one of the highest that we see here, 42% chance for tropical storm force winds, only an 8% chance for those 50-knot winds. So as long as it stays, as long as we could keep these 50-knot winds offshore, it wouldn't be too impactful from a wind standpoint. Now, we still have surf, we still have rip currents, we still have heavy rainfall and everything else that potential tornadoes from storms that come with a landfalling or a close proximity tropical cyclone. So please, respect the tropics right now. And these numbers are obviously subject to change. Buford here. Yeah, Beaufort. That's I need to figure out exactly what that stands for. I think it's military, but I'm not 100% sure. If anybody knows, please feel free, let me know. I think that's military. 38% chance of tropical storm force winds. We have a 38% chance for Kings Bay, Georgia, a 42% chance for Mayport Naval Station here in Florida, with an 8% chance of those 50-knot winds. Getting down to Cocoa Beach, you have a 45% chance of seeing those tropical storm force winds. Therefore, that's why you have a tropical storm watch issued for your area. Thank you. Thank you, Martha. I appreciate that. You have a 9% chance of seeing those 50-knot winds. Patrick Air Force Base is 44% with our tropical storm force winds, and our 50-knot winds will be at 9%. Fort Pierce, 43% tropical storm force, 7% 50 knot. West Palm Beach, you are at 35% with your tropical storm force winds and a 5% chance for those 50 knot winds. Fort Lauderdale, you're at 26, and then rest of the folks here, Fort Myers, Naples, that's all West Coast. And then we have Apalachicola, which is up here by me. We're not involved. I don't know where we got the 4, but okay, we'll go with it. Grand Bahama currently has a 72% chance of seeing those tropical storm force winds and a 26% chance of seeing those 50 knot winds. New Providence, 72% for tropical storm force, 15% for those 50 knot winds. So now that we have a good idea of what our probabilities are, as future advisories come out, we will definitely be able to see how those numbers trend. Our most likely arrival time, if those tropical storm force winds were to verify. Okay, all right, James. We have here Monday going into, so we have our tropical storm watch is kind of right here. All right. So Monday, 8 a.m., I would say for the watch area, Obviously, maybe a little bit earlier before that, here into the overnight hours prior to sunset, just south of the tropical storm watched area. Um, and then going throughout the day here on Monday as we go up and northward up the east coast of the Florida Peninsula, and then getting into the overnight hours. At this is basically, I'm going to erase that, and we are going to go from here all the way down to here. This is the area highlighted that I have for the most likely arrival time of tropical storm force winds during the nighttime hours or the early morning hours without sunlight yet. So those areas there would be the areas to where the winds would pick up while the sun is down. And I know for some people, they certainly don't want to hear that. Here we have on Tuesday after the sun comes up, we will track this out here, and that will be Tuesday. And then we have backwards Wednesday. Okay, that's what we're doing. We're backwards Wednesday. Um, well, I got to get off that graphic now that I realize what I'm looking at. That's kind of that hurts the eyes there. So our rip current risk. Now, if we take a look here, we have a moderate risk of rip current here along the east coast of Florida, getting up into coastal Georgia as well. That's today. That's tomorrow. So as you can see, we are going to get a high risk of rip currents here on the Florida East Coast. Folks, stay out of the water. I know a lot of people are going to go out to the beach and want to watch this thing go by, and see all the wave action and everything. Just please admire it from the shore and from land. Don't go out in the water, if you would, please. And now we are starting to get a little bit of an elevated risk here on the portions of coastal Carolina with a moderate. All of this is eventually going to go red over the coming days, the whole thing. So get ready. Beach in getting out there to the beach is going to be kind of risky. All right, now we are going to jump over to Humberto, and this thing is an absolute monster. Category 5. Pure. Absolute fury. This may have an opportunity to become the strongest storm for 2025. Maybe. Now that it has achieved Category 5 status, it is kind of tied with what we've seen with Hurricane Aaron earlier this year. But a super typhoon known as Ragasa or Nando in the Philippines in the Western Pacific had achieved a higher wind speed. So now the only real question left, will this particular system surpass that one and be the strongest storm in the Northern Hemisphere? The strongest storm on the planet for 2025 so far. It's certainly got a very good opportunity to accomplish that. Right now, it is currently located at 22.9 north, 61.1 west, about 350 miles northeast of the northern Leeward Islands, and about 685 miles southeast of Bermuda, with a maximum sustained winds of 160 miles an hour. Present movement is west-northwest at 10 miles an hour, with a minimum central pressure down to 925 millibars. Now, if we were going on, the strongest storm as far as pressure is concerned, this one's still got a ways to go. It's got quite a ways to go. Regasa out there was into the extremely low 900s. So until this gets, I believe the lowest pressure on that might have been 907. But the Western Pacific will always have the opportunity to go lower pressures than the Atlantic. So um, we'll have to actually see if this gets into a comparable range. I would say somewhere in like the mid 19s, low 19s, like 9, 13, 15, somewhere in that range, then it would certainly be comparable and probably have the wind speed that would exceed that of Super Typhoon Regasa. There are currently no coastal watches or warnings in effect, but there will be. And Bermuda, you definitely need to watch the progress of this and make preparations at least for peripheral impacts that do include tropical storm force winds. The swells, it's a category 5, folks. What do you think that it's doing to the water? It's that I'm not even going to, I digress. It's a Cat 5. It's 160 mile an hour winds. What do you think the water looks like out there? Excuse me. As we can see here with the forecast track, Bermuda is right on the very edge of the forecast cone. It is forecast to move up to the west of Bermuda and then get caught up in those westerlies and eject out here into the open waters of the northern Atlantic, but is going to be making its extratropical transition and growing quite a bit in its overall wind field. And to highlight that, as we could see here, when we get out to day 5, there's your wind field. Right now, we'll scroll up here. Right now, you have tropical storm force winds that are stretching out, what, 220 miles? Somewhere in that range? 210, 220 miles? That's its tropical storm force winds now. Let's go down to day 5. Its tropical storm force winds may be closing in on 650 to 700 miles wide. So this storm is going to basically transition its overall maximum wind speed, all of that energy that's built up in its max wind speed, and it is going to transition it into expanding its wind field. And that's what, from the southwest to the northeast. So if you were to take a line and draw it right through the storm like this, being that the storm would be, like that, you're looking at 350 miles on this end and stretching out to 280 miles on that end. So for a cumulative total of 630 miles across tropical storm force winds. Yeah, that's going to churn up the water just a little bit. Just a little bit. Our discussion. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this, except for, obviously, it is now our second Category 5 of the Atlantic hurricane season. Though, one thing that we are going to do is read paragraphs 2 and 3, because there is still the potential for this to get a little stronger. Some additional strengthening is possible tonight. Internal factors like eye wall replacement cycles will likely dominate Humberto's intensity for the next day or two. So, fluctuations in maximum wind speeds are expected. All of the intensity guidance indicates that some slow weakening is expected to begin by Monday, before Humberto begins to interact with a mid-latitude trough on Tuesday. The cyclone should then begin its extratropical transition shortly thereafter, resulting in a quicker decrease in maximum winds, but an expansion of the overall wind field. Overall, little change was needed to the official forecast aside from showing a higher intensity for the first day or two. Only a slight westward adjustment was made to the track forecast. Humberto is moving slightly faster, but westward near 9 knots. The hurricane is still forecast to move around the subtropical ridge for the next few days before it interacts with the aforementioned trough and accelerates quickly northeastward. The spread in the model track guidance has increased since the last advisory, particularly in regard to how fast Humberto will accelerate northeastward in 4 to 5 days. Confidence in that aspect of the forecast has therefore decreased. Even though little change was made to the official forecast, the NHC forecast remains generally based on a blend of the Google DeepMind, AIGEFS, and the HCCA consensus. We see here 165 miles an hour over the next within the next 12 hours. So, could that achieve that? Absolutely. Let me show you here. We've got from the advanced Dorvac technique, as you could see, 137 knots. There you go. Your category 5 right there. If we scroll down here to our eye wall replacement cycle opportunity, we are looking at a 78%. We have 8 knots of overall shear, but we have the maximum potential intensity. That's exactly what this particular box here shows, right? No, I did not do that. Hold on. That box right there. Current MPI. MPI stands for maximum potential intensity. Its maximum potential intensity is 154 knots. So this does have room that it can grow. It doesn't have a lot of time. And then obviously eye wall replacement cycles like what we see right here, that would certainly not allow it to reach maximum basin intensity. I can tell you that Aaron pretty much tapped out the basin intensity earlier in the season. That's why Aaron just suddenly stopped because, well, it had nothing else that it could gain. It basically hit the ceiling and then just crashed and fell back down. As far as Bermuda is concerned, our earliest reasonable arrival time of winds, or our most likely arrival time, looks to be somewhere in and around sunrise on Tuesday morning. Earliest reasonable arrival time of 50 knots, but we have one noted there in the outlook there. Oh, this was supposed to be recon. And as you could see here, we do have a low-level reconnaissance mission ongoing down here. 1,005 millibars for Tropical Depression number 9. Currently flying around. Oh, that one's on its way out. This one is on its way in. So we will see what this next one and the data that we are able to pull from that. Yeah, no, I think I had a little bit of a glitch there, Henry. I seen my Facebook feed kind of pop down there for a second. So I believe it was some kind of interference there. All right, now we finally, it's only taken me 45 minutes, but we have finally gotten to the part of the program where we can discuss the models. Let's see. Now, I've got this out 5 days. We still see an opportunity for some close interaction here on the East Coast, with quite a bit of it ushering out here and staying out over the open waters. Another thing that I would like to draw everybody's attention to is this little bit of chicken scratch right here. Now, we're not saying that anything is going to develop there, but there is definitely a little bit of chicken scratch right there. Uh, I am going to bring this forward to day 7. As you could see, maybe, probably not going to be tropical in nature, but could be some type of low pressure system out here just spinning up along the frontal boundary and the remnant frontal boundary that is and will be influencing with future Imelda. Now, if we run this out day 10 there for you, Henry, we don't have much of anything on the Euro legacy coming out across the Atlantic. It's going to be very difficult for anything, if it were to develop out here, excuse me, it would be extremely difficult for it to make it all the way across. You figure you're looking at, this is the 20-degree line right here. This is 40 degrees in longitude, just that box right there. And with all of the fronts that we've been having, all of, you've got Humberto that's going to be exiting out, and all these other influential factors. If anything were to try to develop out there, it's likely not going to make it across the main development region before it would end up pulling north and kind of pulling a similar situation to what we see with Humberto now. That's kind of normal climatologically wise as we get further and further into September and start to get towards October. This part of the season usually shuts down. Still have to watch it for our friends out here in the islands. But as far as U.S. threats and close to the United States, very, very, very difficult out here unless it's undeveloped and then slips into the Caribbean or the southwestern Atlantic and then tries to develop something similar to what we are seeing here with Tropical Depression number 9. To be honest with you, Marcus, that is a Kylie question, sir. I wouldn't even be able to tell you where I find that, to be honest. Um, and after she has, moved into town to get closer to campus, oh, brother, I don't have a damn clue. I really don't. Um, that would certainly be a Kylie question there. Taking a look and comparing our Euro legacy to our GEFS ensembles and that legacy. We still have a couple running good or running good. I read Sammy's comment as it popped up. Sammy, it's your fault. But that's not good. It's running towards a landfall and then pulling, quite a few of them are still pulling it up here, stalling it out off of the northeast coast of Florida, and then ushering it out into the open waters. Coming out to day 7, as you can see, some of them have, maybe bending that back just a little bit. Taking a look at our AI for the Euro. Now, again, we've got a little bit of a chicken scratch here. Henry, this is the one that you're probably seeing with a little bit of an opportunity. It's not a lot of a signal there. She's probably, I, I don't have a clue. I'm the one that's doing all this, Bubba. She hasn't been to the house. We haven't seen her in... Oh Lord, I've dropped stuff off, but I haven't seen her in weeks now. I wish I could, but she's so swamped with school, and she lives like a block and a half from Doak Campbell Stadium. So if there's a game or anything that's going on there at the sports area of campus, oh hell, you can't even talk to her, man. Like she would like to do a live on certain nights when she's not busy, which is only a Saturday. But we have to look at the fact, does Florida State play at home? Like next week, we've got a night game against the University of Miami here in Tallahassee, which you're not even going to be able to hear yourself think at her house. You don't even have to attend the game. You can hear the whole thing just go on from inside the house. You can have the windows closed, AC on, television on. It don't matter. You can't hear a thing. It's crazy over there. And I know she's loving every minute of it, man. So I'm certainly not going to take her away from it. So now here, looking at our Euro AI is favoring more of a track out into the open waters, with still a few getting it cut off, left behind, and maybe impacting land. So we're not totally locked up and out of the woods yet. The Google DeepMind, on the other hand, is like, no. You can kind of try to forget the landfall opportunity. We're just going to pull it up and exit stage right. But if that were to occur, folks in Bermuda, you got to keep an eye on it. It could come in quite hot and heavy, and rather quickly as well. It might not make it that far out there, though. All right, let me see. Do we have the super ensembles? No, I don't have them. And I don't want to use the Zero Z. Nope. I'm sorry if Dawn, if you watched the replay or if you're here, I do apologize. We do not have it. Just for the sake of time, I'm not going to run all of the individual models here, the hurricane specific models, because we're going to get the track right here and checking our trends. Our GFS and its trend has shifted just a slight bit to the left and to the west, not by a lot, but a little bit. The euro is also trended just a little bit to the left, cuts it off, stalls it out, and then potentially brings it back. The UK Met. This is the first time that the UK Met has actually allowed this to get picked up by the trough itself and Humberto, and is now ushering way out into the open waters of the Atlantic, chasing and the CMC is also now showing a very similar solution and really doesn't look like that it stalls it at all. This time we've got 24 here, 48 there, 72 hour, 96, 120. This would be ideal because this would exit it out of the region and out of the area very quickly and would significantly decrease our rainfall threat to almost none at that point. H Wharf, as you could see, still favors coming up, getting towards the coastline here, stalling out, slow movement from 72 to 96 hours, and then dipping back down to kind of maybe an east-southeast direction here at 120 hours, and likely not escaping out into the open waters. Would get up to potentially a Category 2, minimal Category 2 strength there. HMON is still favoring this to make landfall in between Charleston and Savannah. Somewhere in that range. It has been absolutely persistent, back and forth on it, and it gets it to a minimal Category 1 hurricane. We'll have to see if this ever changes. Halves A sort of agrees with the HMON. As you could see earlier, it was going out into the open waters. Now it has come back, stalled out off the coast here of Georgia, and then decides that it wants to come pay me a visit here into the parts of the Florida Panhandle. As you can see, it wouldn't arrive as much, but in its maximum intensity, it could be a mid-range Category 1. Halves B Now, halves B earlier showed a pull up and turn to the right. Now we have halves B kind of being cut off and just sitting out here over the open waters off of the coast of northeastern Florida, out here in just this no man's spot, but in a highly vulnerable spot for folks. And if we take a look at its intensity, it could maintain or achieve category 1 and then maintain that tropical storm intensity and then potentially intensify if it is left over the open waters of the Gulf Stream. Our TC coamps steady, pull up, exit stage right. A little slow on the 48 to 72 hour mark right in this region, and then turns out and exits. As far as its intensity goes, intensifying slowly throughout, category 2 strength at the end of the run. Now, we are going to take a look at our HCCA consensus. As you can see, it was drifting out and down further and further earlier to the south and then rushing out to the east. Now we have the HCCA consensus still turning it out to the east, but maybe not rushing this out into the open waters of the northern Atlantic. This may not have enough and is forced to stick around. It is going to potentially reach minimal category 1 status, and then if it does stick around, as you can see here, it would be a moderate tropical storm at that point. TVCN, our other consensus model. This also favors pulling up here to the north, favors a right-hand turn, a little slow, 48 to the 72 hour mark, and then exiting. And that would get a little uncomfortably close there to Bermuda as well. And then if we compare that with its intensity, it would have a category 1, minimal category 1, and then a steady weakening until it was pretty much over and done with. The official forecast track, as we could see here with the slight adjustments here and there, the National Hurricane Center hasn't really been moving it too much and still favors that right-hand turn as a category 1 hurricane. Oh, you're very welcome. There, Henry. Yeah, no, Marcus. She's if I could get her here, there's no telling what she could do. But it's getting her here. Just finding that child even a half hour to like scheduling a half hour with her, being like, hey, you know, like you need to call me. We've got stuff that, parental family stuff that we just need to communicate, just general things. You need to call me. Let's like try to plan a half hour block. I'm still waiting on the child to call me back from Thursday. Hey, constantly busy. We tried to call her this morning and she sent me a picture of a floor, a level, some wood, a huge hole in the floor, and can I call you back? And I was like, I've been waiting on you to call me since Thursday. She said, I've been busy since Thursday. So I was like, all right, I'm not even going to touch it. I can tell that you are not happy with what you're doing right now, so Dad is just going to disappear back into the shadows. All right, our 850 millibar cyclonic vorticity. We have our Euro legacy on the left and our GFS on the right. We are going to run this forward, and we will note that the GFS does get it a little bit closer, and that was the reason for its slight tick to the left. But now if we run this out, see how the Euro doesn't necessarily take it away and leaves it behind, and then it may come back for a second round. And if we look at the GFS, again, kind of shears out and then maybe turns around and tries to come back for a second round. So even if we avoid initial landfall, we might not be over with this just yet. And oh, I wish my wife was not using the cleaner that she's using. She's about choking me out here in this office. Lindsay, if you can hear me, please stop. All right, we also have here our 500 millibar humidity levels here on the top and our 700 millibar humidity levels on the bottom. We have the euro on the left and the GFS on the right. Browns represent our dry air, greens and blues represent our moist air. We will be able to definitely see that there is going to be, we'll take it out 48 hours. Look at the amount of dry air. I mean, we don't have to go out far. Look at the dry air that is encircling and flowing in on the south side of this storm. All right, so dry air is definitely going to be present. Now, we know what the solutions are, so we're just going to kind of run this forward a little bit and show everybody that that dry air is going to be persistent, especially at that 500 millibar level. All right, so now what we need to do is, knowing that that dry air is going to be there, let's check our shear. We've got the euro on the left and the GFS on the right, and we know that that dry air is going to be pretty well situated to the south of it in about 48 hours. So let's take a look at the 48-hour mark. At the 48-hour mark, we are potentially expecting a little bit of shear from this trough right here. That should allow for a little bit of southerly shear to take place. That would then help to push some of that dry air there in on the southern side of what is soon to be Imelda. Our wave action, folks, when I told you to stay out of the water this upcoming week, watch this. This is off the Euro solution, and as you can see here, that's a lot of waves. And that is, now granted, anytime that we see the arrows pointing directly at the coastline, that is going to be an extremely elevated region for rip currents. And as you can see, even getting out to day 7, especially areas north of the Outer Banks of North Carolina, you may have some of your rip currents could be extended for as long as upwards of a week, with some rough surf out there as well. As far as earth null is concerned, we are going to immediately jump to the 500 millibar level. This will show everybody exactly what we are working with. We have our high pressure here, hurricane, our other, this is tropical depression 9. We have our low here with kind of a little bit of a troughing feature, kind of like that. There's your alleyway. All right. This is going to help as this progresses this way. This is going to help erode this flank of the high. That's what's going to collapse the steering currents over here and potentially allow this to kind of move very slowly and or drift. So that's what we're looking like. Now, as far as the shear, we are going to come forward 48 hours. This is the GFS solution. As you can see here, this is the shear, the moderate shear that we're talking about. You've got this low pressure here. There's our low with this trough like that. All right, and you've got the winds coming in from the south with all of that dry air that we know is going to be there. So what's going to happen is you're not going to have a vertically aligned system. It is not going to be stacked vertically with height. Watch what I'm going to come down to the surface, and I'm going to put my trusty green circle here on the surface circulation. But watch what happens when I go to the 500 millibar level. It is still attached, but Watch what happens when we go forward. That we've gone forward 3, and we'll put our trusty green circle there, and we're starting to potentially end up with a tilted vortex. Not a lot, but enough of a tilted vortex to where it could really cause a lot of rainfall there on the coastal regions. If it behaves in the wrong way, we may have a little bit of problem. All right, real quick, we have disturbance number 1 out here into the eastern Pacific. It currently has a 10% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 20% chance of development over the next 7 days. We also have Hurricane Narda out here. Not going to be a hurricane much longer. Currently, it is located at 18.2 degrees north, 125.5 degrees west. It is in the middle of the open waters, in the middle of no man's land. Maximum sustained winds of 80 miles an hour, moving west-northwest at 7 miles an hour. Minimum central pressure of 985 millibars. There are no coastal watches or warning in effect. There will never be watches or warnings in effect for this one. The surf, obviously, we've had a hurricane out there for a few days now, so it's churned up a little bit of surf. Why did I do that? That is definitely churning up a little bit of surf out there into the open waters. If we look at the forecast cone, again, getting north of 20 out here and succumbing to the stable environment and cooler sea surface temperatures. And we're not going to read the discussion tonight either. Forecast to weaken and then become post-tropical in the next 36 hours, and then can be completely dissipated by day 5. Jumping out to the western Pacific, Neoguri is back to a typhoon, and this thing just does not want to die. It is persistent, and it really needs to come off the board, because I'm about it. This thing has lasted longer than like the 3-4 storms. It's just stayed out there into the open waters, has never threatened anybody. Out there, just churning along, messing with the fishes, hanging out. I think it's trying to find Nemo, if you really want to know the truth. I don't know what it's just there, and it's been there. When I show you the forecast track, you'll understand why. Buyale is getting into the final approach here towards Vietnam. Our heart goes out to y'all. You know, the rain that is going to be contained with that. Hopefully, it will degrade a little bit in its maximum wind speed before it makes landfall. We don't want anybody to have any significant issues. But there you go. There's the track. We finally got the cone of uncertainty off of all this mess. And as you can see, it's intensifying. It is forecast to come back up to 55 knots. And yes, this is a part of the Alaskan Aleutian Island chain. And you better not. Don't you dare. Granted, it is weakening from 75 knots down to 55 knots. It's crossing the northern wall there of the water temperatures and will begin to degrade really quick. But I better not ever have to do a tropical advisory for folks in Alaska. I could see a post-tropical, but it better not be fully tropical, ever. We've got big problems. So the forecast track for this is something like this. And this is why I said that this thing needs to die. And then it hung out here for a little while, and now it's coming back this way. Don't be fooled. There was quite a few little circles right here in this spot. It just kind of meandered and drifted around in that filled in spot right there. Just kind of wobbled. And this storm really needs to go away. Wrong hemisphere for Nemo. Well, I don't know, but I'm being honest with you. This thing is lost looking for something. I know that Dora was out here a few years ago. Maybe it's searching for Dora. I don't know. They retired it. This one's not going to get retired, but um, I, your guess is as good as mine. This thing needs to go away. I'm sick and tired of talking about it. I mean, it's been day after day after day. I mean, these are little 12-hour increments right here, folks. It's like, all right, enough's enough with that thing. Let's be done with it. Off into the open waters and of the Northern Pacific and the history books, if you would please. All right, everybody. That's about all that I have here tonight. I'll be back again live here at 11 to go over the primary advisories that are going to come out here tonight. I'm going to try to make it quicker than what I've got here tonight. Got stuff to do tomorrow. I am not 100% sure exactly what tomorrow's schedule is going to be. I might have to delay the early live till 12:30. I've had a pre-scheduled meeting with someone on Monday morning, and it just so happened to be at 11 a.m. So it's going to be very difficult to get that advisory out here in a live stream and not be home at the same time. So I'll definitely let everybody know. I'll put it into the event and schedule the time for it. But we will definitely be live here again at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central for the next primary advisory from the National Hurricane Center. All right, everybody. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here for a little bit. Have yourselves a wonderful evening, and we'll talk to you here again shortly. Bye for now.